Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans, fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers. Couldn't do it without you. Big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for the contribution of his voice and music for the intro and outro. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found anywhere that you can find good music. As promised, we did mention in the past we would be taking a little bit of a twist on the Outer Realm and bringing you different types of content. And one of these categories is awareness. I know, isn't that great? Anyway, tonight, someone I've admired for a very long time, and it is with great honor and much respect that we bring to you a very special guest and fellow Canadian, just saying, Captain Paul Watson, founder of the Sea Shepherd Society, Whale Wars TV show. And tonight he's going to be educating us and raising awareness about the world's ocean and its very special inhabitants. And why is it so detrimental that we behave ourselves with all of this? So tonight's show is dedicated to the countless men and women who make this amazing organization, the Sea Shepherds, just what it is, for their sacrifices, everything. But in order to participate in tonight's show, you're going to have to head over to our 8 different, I'm going to have to just break that down. Our 8 different platforms. I'm sorry, still medicated, still coasting. So I'm just going to do one of these. There we are. Here we go. Okay, there we have it. So, of course, we are on the regular YouTube channels, UFO Paranormal Radio, International Public Radio. We're on Facebook, Outer Realm, Canada's Most Haunted, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover News on the flip side, and of course, UFO Paranormal. So while you're heading on over there, we will see all of your questions and comments and do our very best to get them all out there. But head over to YouTube. Don't just subscribe. Please make sure that you give a nice big hello. Give us the membership. How about that membership? Just give it a try, guys. There's a lot of content going on there that you're not going to find anywhere else, including the Gray Zone Uncensored. It was only ever meant for members, still only meant for members. So give it a whirl. How's it going, Bubbles?
It's okay. How are you?
Wow. Chat room is really filling up.
Yes.
Allison, hello. Michelle Millens, Janie Mashburn, hello, Adriana, Sarah, Zachman.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to read.
Graphics at the bottom.
More. Yep, that's Allison. Hi. Hello. All right. So this is like, I'm pretty excited about this actually, because I'm a bit of an activist like that, and I just think to myself, watching these videos that Captain Paul Watson has done, and I'm almost in tears. People don't realize just how amazing these animals are. These whales and dolphins, and oh my gosh, they're smarter than people. And you look into their eyes and you can almost see into their souls. They're just,
they're beautiful.
They are. And
I posted an incredible video of one interacting with a woman on the surfboard on her Facebook page and on my timeline.
Yes.
And damn perfect timing. I saw it this afternoon while I was watching Captain Watson's TEDx
Yes.
talk. And it just captivated me, and I was so jealous of the woman on that surfboard. But it's
Yeah.
something that I've always wanted to do, and unfortunately, every time I've been in Boston where I can go and
Right.
see them, I've always been there at the wrong time.
Right.
Yeah, Sarah says, love my dolphins and whales.
Oh,
Yeah.
me too. Honestly, I shared up that video. I actually saw it and I shared it because I'm just a sap for it. And
Yeah,
we
it's so precious.
truly are. In fact, if you go back to even what we've talked about in the show and what we did a segment on in the Gray Zone, was how scientists have basically created this organization called Order of the Dolphins. Whales and dolphins, they truly believe, are the key to communicating with extraterrestrials in the language. There have been documentations with people who've seen crafts over the water and dolphins, for example, and whales congregating underneath. And there seems to be some kind of a dialogue going. It's just crazy. If that doesn't tell you something right there, man, I don't know. I just don't know what will,
I'm curious to know what happens, like what are the effects of war in the waters, with the Baltic Sea and that. I wonder,
Right.
what happens to the oceans. I mean, we're talking about a war. There's bombs going off, missiles going off. I don't know. There's so much, but I'm going to sit back and really listen to him speak, because that's what I really want to do. I don't want to interrupt him with too many questions, but I am curious about the effects on war in the oceans. What happens with that? You're talking about a lot more carriers in the water. A lot more airplanes in the air, in the skies, and what does that do to the environment, and how does that affect our oceans and our seas?
Right.
They're so important to the way we live. And if you don't know that, you will know that after tonight.
Yes, I think so too. He's got a lot to talk about. I want to make it as much about him as possible. You're freezing.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm like, hello, are you still there?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
No,
it was intermittent yesterday, and they gave us a boost on the internet, but there's nothing I can do because of the weather.
Right.
So I'll do my best. If I completely go, I'll try and pop back in.
Right. Okay.
I just don't know why the link disappears when it's emailed.
Yeah, Allison says, is there any sound or sonic testing going on? Maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, okay. No, that's good. I've sent off the link. So do you want to attempt to read?
Yes, we have a brief bio here that we actually took from sharkwater.com, and it's so perfect. I don't think that it should be changed at all. So I'm just going to read right from there. Captain Paul Watson is the founder of Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, an organization dedicated to research, investigation, and enforcement of laws, treaties, resolutions, and regulations established to protect marine wildlife worldwide. And in 2000, Captain Paul Watson was chosen by Time magazine as one of the environmental heroes of the 20th century. Without further ado, please welcome the incomparable Captain Paul Watson to our show.
And we're waiting.
That was a good intro, Captain, just saying.
I know. It is one heck of an intro.
I got tongue-tied on that first part, but yeah.
For as long as I can remember, when I first caught wind of, I've always been a Greenpeace supporter, actually. And when Whale Wars came out, I watched it religiously.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking to myself, God, these guys have balls. It's like, whoa.
I love what he says. We're trying to bankrupt them.
Yeah.
Because all they understand is money.
Yeah.
And that is a brilliant way to do that, because it doesn't matter how many you save. It's about taking their ships and making sure they're not out there, because they are there illegally more than not.
Absolutely. There's so much support for these guys. And I remember being at a Boston concert, of all places, and huge stadium. And they did a song for Whale Wars and the Sea Shepherd Society. And when they played it, they had scenes from the show going. I must have seen 30,000 people stand up and lose their freaking minds. And I'm thinking, this is outstanding. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It just made you
gorgeous.
realize that this is like a global phenomenon.
I could watch footage of whales for hours, just immerse me in there. But I am not one to, I'm going to say this straight out. I don't go to aquariums. I don't go to zoos. I
Right.
never have. And
Yeah.
I don't go to the circus. I don't support, and I especially don't support Marine Land. I don't care if you're listening. You guys should have been shut down a long time ago.
Right.
I can't support animals in captivity. I don't agree with it. I don't believe it. I think it's so wrong on many levels. I wouldn't want to be held in some fenced in land area and being observed. It's just wrong. You just leave the animals alone.
Let's try that
That's
one again.
wrong.
Yeah, I guess he was waiting for the link. He didn't get it. So I've resent it.
It's glitchy tonight. I don't know why.
It really is. Yeah. So I've resent it. So
I mean, why would it delete itself from my email? Like as if you sent me something like CID.
I don't know, but I'm hoping now that he'll catch this one. And that will be it.
Look at that. Zach says, I first learned about Whale Wars through the South Park parody.
Oh,
wow.
Hey,
I've never seen an episode of that show ever.
No, whatever it takes is what I say right there. Here it is again. Okay, so now we wait. Boy, man, oh man. Okay, I'm just.
It's definitely StreamYard.
Yeah, maybe. It's just like what the hey, But it's funny because trying to think of new content for the show and just thinking, going in a different direction, awareness. There's so many amazing things out there that really do need awareness. And this man's face kept popping into my head. I'm like, there he is. Here we go.
Yay.
Okay, nobody's more excited than me right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Both invites arrived at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How are you, Captain? How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Wow.
Good.
I have to just really start the show with saying thank you. I have to, because honestly, I have followed you for quite a while, a long time, and it's just unbelievable what you guys do. You put yourselves out there. I mean, really put yourselves out there. You put actions speak louder than words. You put your money where your mouth is for real. And I just say thank you for having the kahunas to do it, because most would not. And I thank you for that, because I love whales. I love the ocean. I love everything about it. And it's just heartbreaking to see what's going on right now. And now with the war and everything else, I'm sick to my stomach, because these creatures are going to end up suffering one way or another with all of this activity over the water.
That's true. But, it's not just me. We have 10 ships, captains, officers, crews, or about, 300 volunteers at any given time from 37 different nations.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Well, where I would like to start is, you're a fellow Canadian, New Brunswick. Yay. And how did you come to decide in your life that this is what I'm going to do? I've supported Greenpeace early on and saw the significance at the time. It's what was there till you guys came along and changed the whole game. So maybe you could just lead us into your humble beginnings, so to speak.
Well, I didn't actually make any specific decision to do what I'm doing. I was raised in a fishing village in New Brunswick, and when I was 10 years old, I spent a summer swimming with a family of beavers in the forest and the woods.
Oh my gosh.
And the next summer, when I went back, they were gone. And I asked questions, found out trappers had killed them all during the winter. And I got really angry. So that winter, the following winter, I began to walk the trap lines and free the animals and destroy the traps. And that gone on to disrupting deer hunts and different things. And well, I joined the Norwegian Merchant Marine. So I was a merchant sailor. But when I came back in 1969, there was a big demonstration on the British Columbia Washington state border against nuclear testing in Amchitka and the Aleutians. And it was organized by the Sierra Club and the Quakers. But my motivation for getting involved was because Amchitka is a wildlife refuge, and it was you couldn't take a gun onto the island, but here they are blowing a 5-megaton bomb up underneath of it, and it killed a lot of sea otters and sea lions. And so anyway, that demonstration evolved into a group that came up with an idea, and that group was called the Don't Make a Wave Committee, because people were still, remember the Anchorage earthquake and the tsunami, which hit Vancouver Island and Hilo, Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Don't Make a Wave Committee, the Quakers reminded us that in 1956 they had sent a boat down to Bikini Atoll to protest atmospheric nuclear testing. So, okay, that was the idea. Let's get a boat. And at one of the early meetings, somebody left the meeting and said peace, and somebody else, Bill Darnell, actually said, make it a Greenpeace. And Bob Hunter said, hey, that's a great name for the boat. So the boat came first.
Wow.
It was Greenpeace and the Greenpeace 2. I sailed on the Greenpeace 2. The Greenpeace 2 was the one that was actually up there when the bomb blew up. The other one had come down.
Oh.
But anyway, in 1972, the Don't Make a Wave Committee officially changed its name to the Greenpeace Foundation, and we took the name Foundation from Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy. And so that was in 72, and I was a founding director on that, along with Bob Hunter and Rod Maroney and many others. And but in 1977, I left Greenpeace and established Sea Shepherd.
Wow.
And the reason being is that, Greenpeace is okay as a protest organization, but I've never really been into protesting. It always seemed very submissive to me, like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't kill the whales, and of course they do it anyway. So I felt there was a need to intervene. So I set Sea Shepherd up to intervene against these illegal activities. But it was set up with a specific strategy, which I called aggressive nonviolence. I mean, we're going to be aggressive, but we're not going to hurt anybody, and we never have. But we have no problem with destroying equipment and property which is used to kill lives or take to illegally, for like poachers, for instance. I mean, if a person's about to shoot an elephant and you go up and you knock the rifle out of his hand and destroy that rifle, that's an act of nonviolence.
Right.
But in a society which values property over life, then of course that might be considered violent.
Right.
So so we've been very, very cognizant of, being very careful in all of our campaigns to ensure that nobody is physically injured. And that's 42 years later, we haven't injured anybody.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'll hand it to you guys. That's what you do is incredible. It comes with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work. And again, I can't thank you enough. I watch your videos and I listen to your stories, and I just hope I don't do it tonight. And it just brings me to tears because it hurts my heart a lot to hear it, because I could feel it, when you're experiencing it. And I just, I can't even look at a video into a whale's eye without it bringing me to tears. So again, I'll probably say thank you a million times while you're on tonight, but I want the show. This is about you, and I want you to talk about anything that you want to talk about. We'll jump in. Just it's a show about awareness. I think people need to be educated. Well,
one of the things that I've done in the last year is actually I decided to found a church, and it's I call it the Church of Biocentrism.
Okay.
All religions, or pretty much certainly all the dominant religions, are anthropocentric, which means they all look at humans as the center of everything. All of reality revolves around us. And I feel that we need to revive the, indigenous ideas of we're all one and the same. Everything is interdependent. Everything is part of everything else. And so that's what the Church of Biocentrism is. And I'm calling it a church because people understand churches and whatever. But I think that we have to understand that we are not dominant over all other species. We need them, they need us, although we need them more than they need us.
Yes.
A few years ago, I had this Brett Hume, I think he was a reporter for Fox News, called me up and he said, "Did you say that birds and trees and worms and bees were more important than people?" I said, "Yeah, I did say that." He said, "How could you say something so outrageous?" I said, "Well, because birds and trees and worms and bees are more important than people. That's a fact. And the reason being is they can live here quite happily without us, but we can't live without them. We need them. They don't need us. That makes them ecologically far more important than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think we can live on this planet without being interdependent with all of those other species, then we're going to go extinct." And it's simple. One of the things that I like to get across to people is that there's a group of plants in the ocean called phytoplankton. Now, since 1950, there's been a 40% diminishment in phytoplankton in the world's seas. 40% diminishment of a species of plants, a group of species of plants that produce 70% of the oxygen in the air that we breathe and sequester enormous amounts of CO2. If phytoplankton disappears from the sea, we all die. We do not live on a planet without phytoplankton. It's as simple as that. Now, why is phytoplankton being diminished? Because we're killing off the whales and the seals and the seabirds and the fishes. And those species provide the nutrient base for the phytoplankton. In fact, whales can call them the farmers of the sea. They fertilize the phytoplankton. Right. Every day, one blue whale, for example, defecates 3 tons of manure, very, very rich in nitrogen and iron. And those are the primary nutrients required by phytoplankton. And so when we diminish this group of species here, we diminish that group of species over there. And the problem is that humans have this incredible ability to adapt to diminishment. As things become more and more diminished, we just accept it. The year 1965, if I had said to you, in 40 years, you're going to be buying water in plastic bottles and paying more for that water than the equivalent amount of gasoline, you would have looked at me and I don't know who's going to be that stupid to do that. Right. And yet here we are. We would have to do that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't buy water in plastic bottles.
Yes, no. But you're not the you're
no, I understand that, but I had to really look at that when I saw all that was going to the oceans and to the seas, and I couldn't understand how it got there. And I started doing more research. I had to stop. It was just too much. I can't be responsible for, even if I'm one person and someone else is one person, collectively, it's a big difference. We shouldn't have to be paying for studies to figure out how to clean up the garbage of the ocean. It just shouldn't be happening.
And the numbers are incredible. Evian alone produces 100 million bottles a year. And that's just one company. And then you have Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola and all of these companies. It's billions of bottles.
It's a domino effect too.
The problem is this plastic breaks down into microplastic, and that microplastic then gets eaten by everything from plankton to fish. And if people eat fish, then you can pretty much guarantee you have microplastic in your body because of that. It's infiltrating plankton in the ocean. It's really an insidious problem. In 1985, when we started talking about this, nobody took it seriously. I actually had people from Greenpeace call me up and say, what's all this nonsense about plastic and everything? And, finally, actually in the last 10 years, it's finally been taken seriously that this is a real threat. And, Sea Shepherd is involved in removing plastic from the ocean. We concentrate in 2 areas. One, removing, ghost nets and marine debris from the bottom, which has been left by fishermen. And we also concentrate on remote areas. For instance, we cleaned up tons and tons of plastic off of Cocos Island, off of Costa Rica, Cocos Keeling Island in the Indian Ocean, the beaches in Northern Australia, that kind of thing. But there are many groups that are out there that are involved in removing plastics from the ocean.
Wow. Yeah. So you guys cover everything, leave no stone unturned.
Well, there's so many threats facing, the survival of life in the ocean. I mean, everything from acidification, climate change, plastic, chemical pollution, radiation, sonic pollution, which is, the noise in the ocean, which is very lethal to a lot of different species. So there's many fronts that we're building on. One of the things that Sea Shepherd's focusing on right now is illegal, unregulated fishing. and 40% of all of the fish that are taken from the sea are taken illegally. And so we've been focusing on that. And the problem is that the ocean is really the Wild West. We have all the laws and rules and regulations we need to protect everything, but there's no enforcement. There's a lack of political and economic will to enforce it. So one of the things that Sea Shepherd's done since 2015 is to make alliances and partnerships with various governments. So now we've been invited into by about a dozen African countries: Ghana, Liberia, Tanzania, Namibia, Cape Verde, and also with partnerships with Peru, Mexico, Colombia, and Ecuador. And what that means is that we go into their waters, their territorial waters, provide the resources, the crew, and they provide the authority. And that allows us to go after the poachers in their waters. Outside of territorial waters, we operate under the guidance of the United Nations World Charter for Nature, which allows for non-government organizations and individuals to intervene against illegal, to uphold international conservation law. So it's a complicated thing, but our partnerships are working out quite well. How this began is in 2015. In 2015, it was the longest pursuit of a poacher in history. Two of our vessels, the Sam Simon and the Bob Barker, chased the toothfish poacher Thunder for 110 days from the coast of Antarctica to just off the waters of Sao Tome in equatorial West Africa. And after 110 days, the Thunder had no place to go. They couldn't lose us. Right. And there was no port they could go. We were working. Now we had established communications with Interpol. They couldn't go anywhere. So the captain of the Thunder sank his ship right in front of us. We had to rescue 42 crew, and but he did that to destroy the evidence. But we boarded the sinking ship and got their logbooks, their computers, and also samples of the fish that they had taken. And the company was fined 17 million euros. The captain and 2 officers went to prison for 3 years.
Good for you.
So, but that was the beginning. Since that incident, then we've been invited by numerous governments to help and to work on that. Right now, we're working on opposing the French and foreign drag trawlers in the Bay of Biscay, off the coast of France. Super trawlers there that every year kill about 10,000 dolphins as bycatch in their nets. And so we also have ships off the west coast of Africa, continuing to work on these anti-poaching operations there. We're working in Mexico to protect the endangered vaquita porpoise to prevent its extinction. We've been doing that since 2015. It's a great partnership with the Mexican government where we've confiscated, I think, about 170,000 meters of illegal gill net.
Wow.
In that time. Our vessel, the Ocean Warrior, came back from getting documentation on illegal activities by the massive Chinese squid fleet in the Eastern Tropical Pacific. About 400 of those ships out there, just taking everything they can get. And so I can't even keep track of the campaigns we're doing right now. Sea Shepherd is not an organization; it's a movement. It's a global movement in 42 different countries, and all of those countries are operated by the people within those countries: Italy, France, Australia, whatever. And they have their own campaigns. But there is Sea Shepherd Global, and that's the entity that operates the ships. And we provide those ships to countries that they need them, but also all those countries support the operations of those ships.
Right. That's unbelievable, the world support, because you were sort of known as a bit of a bad boy when you guys all first got started, a little bit. Like you guys really sacrifice a lot, including taking a chance with your freedom. Like, well, a lot of rebellion against you.
I never thought of myself as being a bad person.
Just a rebel, you.
In a good way. Like in a John Wayne way, not a not a Bin Laden way.
Well, I am on the Interpol red list. Now, the Interpol red list is for serial killers, major drug traffickers, and war criminals. I'm the only person in the history of the Interpol red list to be put on there for the charge of conspiracy to trespass. Conspiracy to trespass on a whaling ship. But because we cost Japan $200 million and drove their illegal whaling operations out of the Southern Ocean, Japan takes things pretty personally. So they put me on that list to try and keep me from traveling really. But I've been on the list for 10 years now.
Can't we
Right.
put them on the list so that they can't continue doing what they're doing? Isn't
Well, you
that
think though, there's 45,000 Japanese gangsters, registered gangsters in Japan. Not one of them's on the red list.
I worked crime for years, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But I can't believe you're on that red list. That is just crazy.
Well, it was taken up by the European Union, who, as an example of how politics is being used by the red list. And we did write to Interpol, and Interpol agreed with all our arguments, but said, well, it ultimately comes down to Japan. And so it's a powerful country and you can't really do anything about it.
Right.
They tried to get me in 2012. I had landed in Germany in 2012, and suddenly I was being detained on an extradition request by Costa Rica, which was a surprise to me. And then I found out, of course, Japan had leaned on Costa Rica, because in 2002, I was coming down the coast of Central America, and we found shark spinners in Guatemalan waters. And I asked the Guatemalan government what to do. They said, can you stop them? Which I did. Didn't hurt anybody, didn't damage any property. But when the fishing boat returned to Costa Rica, they accused me of trying to kill them. So suddenly when we pulled into Costa Rica, I was charged with 8 counts of attempted homicide. But fortunately, Rob Stewart, who was making the film Sharkwater, and he was on board, he filmed everything. And we went into court. The judge and the prosecutor looked at the film and said, oh, okay, and dismissed the charges. A week later, I get charged again, this time with 8 counts of assault. Once again, we go into court, show the film and everything, and the charges are dismissed, and I'm given clearance to leave Costa Rica. And I thought that was the end of it, until 10 years later. Now I'm being arrested in Germany on an extradition request by Costa Rica on the charge of a thing called shipwreck endangerment. Nobody really knew what that was. But apparently it was a terrorist charge. But the reason that happened was that the year before, Japan met with the president of Costa Rica, and a little bit of bribery took place there. And they said, Japan said, can you do this? And Costa Rica said yes. But anyway, the good news of this is that in 2018, Costa Rica had a change of government. And the new environment minister called up and apologized, and dropped all the charges have been dismissed by Costa Rica.
Fantastic.
But
and
Japan,
brought you on board, basically.
But see, what happened is Japan and Costa Rica had applied to Interpol for put me on the red list, and it was denied. But when I was arrested in Germany, I was held for 2 months under house arrest. And then I had a supporter in the German Ministry of Justice who called up and said, because I had to report to the police every day. He said, when you go in to report to the police on Monday, you're going to be extradited to Japan. And I said, really? Well, on Sunday, I left Germany. I jumped bail and left Germany. And they had my passports, my Canadian passport and my American passport. And so anyway, I got one of our boats to sail me across the Atlantic. And then I went ashore in Nova Scotia. Not quite legally, but because I was raised in a border town in New Brunswick, I knew how to cross the border into the U.S.
Right.
Then I got to Catalina Island, and I got one of our boats to pick me up there, take me to American Samoa, where I joined up with a Steve Irwin, went down to the Southern Ocean to confront the Japanese fleet. And then after that, I spent 7 months on deserted islands in the South Pacific till John Kerry gave me permission to come back to the United States, not Canada. I can't go to Canada. They will send me to Japan.
You're kidding.
Oh, you're kidding.
In fact, the U.S., the Germans turned my passports over to the embassies, and the U.S. gave me my passport right away, but Canada wouldn't give me my passport.
Really?
I finally got it but now it's expired. I tried again, and I'm still waiting 3 months to get the thing.
This is just ridiculous. Honestly, we're so messed up.
Too bad we can't revoke some of their passports.
Canada doesn't like me for, the seal hunt, opposition to the seal hunt, opposition to the fish farms, and
Where?
Yeah.
The seal hunt is, those things are hard, so difficult to watch. Oh my gosh.
It's enraging.
A funny story. In 1977, I actually had a confrontation with Pierre Trudeau over this whole thing, which was quite funny. But what's even funnier is that I went to school with Margaret Trudeau and Sinclair at the time. And when I saw her all the way back in the 70s, she had a stroller in front of the Hotel Vancouver. So I just walked up and talked to her, and she was first lady of Canada, but this is Canada. You can do that. And anyway, I walked up to talk to her, and that's Justin Trudeau was in the stroller. And I remember this.
You had your chance.
I know. I was going to say, dang it.
But I remember very clearly. I said to her, "Do you think he's going to grow up and be prime minister someday?" Because And she looked at me and she said, "Oh God, I hope not."
Us too. Here we are. So
Well, the funny thing about Pierre Trudeau is that I confronted him at Berkeley, of all places. He was giving a commencement address, and I was leading a demonstration against the seal hunt. And he came out, and the consul brought him straight up over to me, and he was all really angry. And I was a little shocked because he was so short. I was taken a little back by that. He was just a little guy. And he came up to me and he says, "You're nothing but a damn hypocrite standing there in your leather shoes, and you're opposed to the seal hunt." And I looked at him. I looked at my feet, and I looked at him. And I said, "Oh, I guess they are leather." And he looked at my feet, got very embarrassed because I was standing in bare feet on the lawn.
Oh, good Lord.
That backfired on him.
Yeah, he wasn't too quick.
I love it though. I do.
I met him when I was a little kid, but my interaction wasn't like that.
Oh, nothing better than quieting up a politician.
It's fun when you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible you can't get back into Canada. That's just horrible.
No, I haven't been to Canada since 2010, I think. That's the last time.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, well, I tell you how to get in, but I'm probably sitting in front of 3 million people. Wouldn't be a good idea.
I could get in if I wanted to get in, but it's not worth taking the chance.
He's done it before. It's not like he doesn't know.
No.
Especially when you live on the East Coast.
I know.
There's ways.
I keep forgetting
My
as to how
God.
many people are actually listening, because every now I almost catch myself like, don't say that.
Well,
So,
if you're serious, you can just walk the border of Massachusetts and Maine, or just go straight into Quebec.
Fort Erie.
Well, one of the funniest things, back in 1983, when we intervened against the seal hunt, we all got arrested under the Seal Protection Act, which makes it illegal to protect a seal under the Seal Protection Act. In fact, it's illegal to witness a seal being killed, or illegal to document a seal being killed under the Seal Protection Act. It's pretty Orwellian regulation, really. Anyway, we all got arrested under this, and my ship was seized and everything. And we went into court in Pierce, Quebec, before a guy called Yvon Mercier, the judge of Mercier, who was known as the hanging judge of the seal hunt. If you were against the seal hunt, he was going to deal with you. So the strategy that we put together I thought it was brilliant, even though I did it myself. But was, okay, I said, this guy's going to sentence us. No matter what we do, we're going to be found guilty. So let's just piss him off as much as we can. And that's what we did through the whole court case. We made him so angry, and he found us guilty, of course, but he sentenced me to 15 months in prison for conspiracy, 6 months in prison for breaking the Seal Protection Act. That's 21 months in prison, $70,000 fine, confiscation of my ship, $3,000 fine for every crew member, and ordered me not to speak to any journalists on any subject whatsoever for 3 years, and barred me from the 5 Eastern Canadian provinces for 3 years. Wonderful. I went into prison in Quebec for 6 days, got out on appeal. This all went to the Court of Appeals in Quebec, and they looked at it. What the hell is this? And threw the whole thing out.
But
And
you
it's
aggravated him, and he'll never forget it.
But then this becomes public records. You get it out without speaking to the journalists, because courtrooms, all of them,
Well,
all trials.
Yeah, but as soon as I got out after 6 days, I called a press conference anyways.
I like you.
That's outstanding.
You
I
definitely
love it.
fit in.
What was funny, it was a couple of days before Christmas when he sentenced us in Quebec City. And as he got up, and I yelled at him, I said, "Hey, Judge Mercier." Now he looked at me and he smiled. Now I know I'm going to get a contempt charge. But before he could do anything, I said, "Merry Christmas, Your Honor." There's no way he could send me out a
No, he's
Not
probably
for
just like
agreeing.
seething inside. It's like, I hate this guy. So,
So do you have like a team of international lawyers then? Because every
No.
country's different laws?
No, but when we get lawyers when we need lawyers, and I learned a lesson from a lawyer friend of mine many years ago. When I was arrested for charged with mischief for chasing the Spanish and Cuban drag trawlers off the Grand Banks of Newfoundland in '93, I called up a friend of mine in Vancouver as a lawyer. I said, "Who's the best damn lawyer in Newfoundland?" And he said, "Brian Casey, got those priests off on the orphanage scandal." I said, "He's my guy." He was an artist, I'll tell you. It went before a jury, the jury in Newfoundland. I'm on trial in Newfoundland where everybody hates me. And his opening statement was, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're not going to say we didn't do this. We're going to say we did exactly what we're charged with. We're proud to have done it, and we're going to do it again." And I was found not guilty. We won.
Wow.
The reason they won, of the 12 people on the jury, 2 of them were old fishermen, Newfoundland fishermen. They might not like me, but they didn't like the government. They hated the government more than they didn't like me.
Yeah. That's all it takes.
Those are the guys who, it was 17 hours of deliberation. They found me not guilty.
You were the lesser of the 2 evils for them.
Well, actually, when the jury comes in after deliberations and they don't look at you, that means you're guilty. If they look at you, you're okay. These guys not only looked at me, but they went like this, thumbs up.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. I think you have a lot more support out there than most people would realize. I was telling a story before you came on about being at a Boston concert of all places. It was like 30,000 people. And I guess they wrote a song for you guys. And they played this song, and on the screen, they played scenes from Whale Wars. And I saw 30,000 people jump up and just lose their freaking minds. And I'm like, this is freaking amazing. It's just like the best thing ever.
We have a lot of bands actually support us. Back in 1985, we used to have the Chili Peppers would do benefits for us, but nobody even heard of them at the time.
Right. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, for those of you in the U.S.
They're still, when what was it? 20 years later, we had a gala for our anniversary, and invited Anthony Kiedis and Flea, and Anthony showed up with the T-shirt I gave him in 1985.
That's awesome.
So we have a lot of these groups that are supporting us, a lot of celebrities too.
And that's what I think draws more people in, because people, they respect their idols. Boston only toured once every freaking 7 years. So if they say this is the thing, it is the thing.
Well, you've got Betty White, who is huge, Bob Barker, Paul Simon. You've got a lot of celebrities that have a huge reach.
Yeah, and
in all ways.
We live in a media culture, so that's why I think it's important. And I always joke, I said, because we have Richard Dean Anderson and Pierce Brosnan, we had Sean Connery before he died, and we have William Shatner, and we have
love him.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen. So I said, how can we lose? We got 2 James Bonds. We got Batman. We got MacGyver. And
Yeah, you can't lose.
We have the Highlander. We have the Highlander too.
I know.
Oh,
Sean Connery. Hello.
But also to give you an idea how the media culture we live in is a couple of years ago when they had some orcas and belugas that were captive in Russia in Vladivostok, trying to get them released. And I wrote a speech to Putin and the Russian government. No, they're not going to listen to me. So, but they did listen to the speech because it was delivered by Pamela Anderson. And they released the whales.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's beautiful inside and out. She's so compassionate and she's so strong. She doesn't stand down. She stands up, and I love that about her. And she's Canadian, just saying.
Right? We have the kahunas.
I love her.
Here's a comment from Dolly, who's I love your work. Can you see Amelia or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Finish it. It's
Says, I love your work. My cousin Dory Liotta is a fighter against shark finning. I've been sending money for years.
That's devastating.
Yeah, she is a big animal supporter, actually. I know Dolly. So I love hearing stories like that, because I did not know that about you, Dolly. So
the thing about sharks, one of the things we were most proud to have done is to work with Rob Stewart when he made the film Sharkwater, which I think really changed the minds of hundreds of thousands of people. And to understand the value of sharks, how important they are to marine ecosystems, and how much threatened these ecosystems would be without sharks. And I always find it strange that people demonize sharks as these monsters when the average number of people killed by sharks every year, usually by accident, is about 5. The average we kill about 90 million of them every year. So we're the monster on that.
Wow.
And I always say to people, I don't know why you're afraid of sharks. Kelly Slater, the surfer, said, well, if you're afraid of sharks, there's one, just stay out of the ocean. That's the solution.
Exactly.
But it's more dangerous to play golf than it is to swim in the ocean with sharks. More people die every year stung by bees or struck by lightning on golf courses than are killed by
Mhm.
sharks in the ocean. And
So-
usually it's a case of mistaken identity because unfortunately surfers look like seals from below.
That's true. I watched a documentary on that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
Not all species of sharks attack. There's very few.
Yeah,
A
there's
lot of
very,
them are benign.
but also I think that the three areas where shark attacks are most prevalent are Western Australia, Queensland, and La Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean. Now, what do those three places all have in common? Shark control programs.
Oh,
They're shark culling programs. Now, what that does is that they go in and they kill the sharks in the reef, say the bull sharks in La Reunion. That creates a vacuum, drawing sharks from the outside. Now, these new sharks coming in, they want to maintain their a new territory. They want to define that new territory. So they're aggressive, much more aggressive than the sharks that were there that were killed.
Mhm.
So every time they do that, they're bringing in more aggressive sharks who are trying to stabilize their territories. And so the solution, which of course they're not going to listen to, is stop killing sharks, and you won't have that problem.
Right. No brainer. So one would think.
wow.
Yeah. I feel that education is very important. Just educating people as to the importance that every species plays a part in the ocean. You're talking about plant life. People don't see, like, well, how do whales help us? Aside from what they tell you, watching your TED talk and talking about the oil and the Russians and what the oil is used for. It's people have no clue. Do you guys have that sort of an education program also? Like, is there a place that they can go to be made aware of things like this, or do you
Yeah,
give talks?
we do have educational programs and of course books. In the last year, I've written 2 books on orcas, for example, and I'm writing children's books because that's the most
Oh.
important people to
Mhm.
educate, because you can educate children. It's pretty hard to educate adults. They tend
That's
to have
true.
their minds made up. Children, people always ask me, what should we teach our children? I usually say nothing. Don't teach them anything. Why don't you listen to them for a change? They seem to actually understand intuitively what the problems are and how to solve them.
That's true.
Great ideas come from children.
Right.
And I just live. I have a 5-year-old son. I listen. He's got brilliant ideas when it comes.
Yeah. He's 5. They know everything at 5.
They're so
I think they're more in touch with the natural world.
It's true.
Anthropocentric, education. There, we drive that all out of them.
That's true.
So we're taught as children, you intuitively love animals, but then we say, no, you got to grow up and understand that animals are here to eat, animals are here to use, and that's the way the education turns people in that way.
Mm-hmm.
If we just let children be children, that wouldn't happen.
You're right. You're right. And I think it does start with that generation. You teach them how to love animals. You get them a pet. You basically say you have to be kind. Look at the birds. Look at this. And I know because I have a grandson, and I go through the same thing with him. I'm like, this is why this is all important. He loves and he respects. But when you're molding these little minds, especially 0 to 5 years old, you're instilling the building blocks of life of what they're going to respect and not respect, what they emulate.
Mhm.
So that's the perfect time, as they get into 5 and up. It's like, I think it's a brilliant idea to do the children's books.
I had an experience in the early 70s, which was very enlightening, is that we were speaking to schools in the Queen Charlotte Islands, the Haida Reservation. And in the morning, we spoke to the kindergarten. At noon or around the midday, we spoke to the grade 8, grade 9, and seniors later in the day. Now, here's what we went into the kindergarten class. Anybody here speak Haida? Every one of them. Anybody here seen a whale? We just sat there and listened to all their stories about whales.
Right.
For the mid school, anybody here speak Haida? A couple. Anybody know anything about whales? A few. Seniors, anybody speak Haida? No. Anybody know about whales? Who cares? So we took these beautifully intelligent children and turned them into morons through the school system.
Yeah. Also, the school system's the biggest system to support the zoos and freaking lion safari and all of these, Marineland and what's the other one? SeaWorld. They're the biggest ones to support them. They have
But
to
at least
stop
Canada
their.
took a stand on that. Like they basically said no more.
But
when
we
it
still
comes
have a
to-
zoo.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
still
Well,
have the Toronto Zoo. It's
I,
huge.
well, I do have to say that over the last 50 years, there's been a lot of change. People have become more aware. Just look at the vegan movement, for example.
Yes.
Back in 1980, nobody knew what a vegan was, unless you're from the
Right.
planet Vega or something.
Is that something you eat? What is that? Yeah.
So nobody knew what the word ecology meant in the 60s and that.
Right.
So people are much more aware now. But the problem is that everything is much more serious now. I mean, there's more threats now. I mean, we're dealing with climate change and everything else. Just getting people to understand that climate change is a reality is difficult.
I agree. Do you find also when you're dealing with the world's militaries, it's like right, like hitting a freaking brick wall, because sonar and all these tests that they run, that's gotta just be terrible for marine life.
Yeah, in 2015, I spoke at the environmental or the climate change conference in Paris, and I wrote a book about it. Urgence, it was called. And that if we really want to address climate change, we have to address certain things like, one, stop industrialized fishing in the ocean. Two, get rid of the military. Of course,
I'm sure that went over real well.
we have to stop these stupid anthropocentric wars.
That's true.
I mean, everybody jumps on. I mean, look at the situation we're having now, Ukraine and Russia. Everybody's Ukraine. Well, fine. And I think that what they're doing is very courageous. But how is that different than Libya or Syria or Afghanistan or all these other things? We bomb the hell out of these places, but it depends who's doing it,
Right.
And Libya was a thriving, people had a lot of benefits they don't have anymore. Gaddafi was building a pipeline to the Sahara to transport water, not oil. And that's all gone, destroyed. And so what did we accomplish in Libya? Nothing. We
control.
We made everybody there miserable, and then we just left.
Yeah.
So, and the same situation's happening. This empire. If you read 1984, there was Eurasia, East Asia, and Oceania, the three superpowers, constantly shifting alliances. That's exactly what's happening now. China, Russia, the United States, constantly shifting alliances. We're going to side with China this time, but now we're going to be with Russia. It's
a game.
And the bottom line is to make money. The military complex is to make money. Wars are profitable,
everything else is collateral damage.
Just look at this week. What are the highest rising stocks on the stock market? The defense industry.
There we go. And everything else becomes collateral damage. It makes it really difficult. You go up against world governments, you come up against the military, you hit a brick wall. There's really nothing that can be done with them. No. They just do all of these tests. And, I think science has shown too that it's really harmful to marine life, and nobody just seems to care. What drives me crazy, I'm sorry, when they put mines on a dolphin and send them out.
Oh my gosh.
Inhumane. It's, the ultimate objective is to inflict as much punishment on the enemy without any regard to the collateral damage of what's going to result in that. And it's going to be our undoing. The problem is that climate change, all of these things, I think, really originate with this anthropocentric attitude that we really don't care about anything else other than ourselves. But that's going to collapse. Right now, for instance, in 1995, Laurie Garrett wrote a book called The Coming Plague, and she predicted all of this. But we ignored it. We ignored Hanta. We ignored West Nile virus. We ignored Zika. We ignored Ebola because it didn't kill white people. It didn't kill Westerners. And now COVID comes along and everybody's freaking out. Well, that was all predicted, and it's going to get worse. And the reason it's going to get worse is zoonotic transmission of viruses are a direct consequence of the destruction of ecosystems and the diminishment of species. Right. Every plant and animal has viruses associated with it. We could not live without them. We need them. Viruses are an integral and very important part of life on this planet.
Right.
But when you diminish a species, the viruses associated with that species got to go somewhere.
Mhm.
And species which are close to us, pigs, birds, bats, whatever, those species are going to jump, apes, things like that. And the problem is the virus doesn't actually want to kill you, but it needs to establish a state of coexistence. And a lot of hosts die as a result of
Right. Right.
there's going to be more of that. I mean, COVID is now going down, but what's coming up? Major bird flu.
Mhm.
And what's happening is that we're keeping a lot of this under control, out of sight and out of mind, by massive euthanasia against animals on factory farms.
Mm.
Every year we kill millions of them to control the viruses that could get out of control. It's at the first sign of a viral epidemic in a population of chickens or a population of mink or whatever,
Mhm.
what we do is exterminate them. 17 million mink were put down in Denmark alone
Wow.
last year.
Wow.
Every year, geese and ducks and chickens, they go into the farms and they put this foam to suffocate the whole lot of them. Hundreds of thousands of them at the time.
And you don't read about this. They
No,
don't.
they don't. It's all kept very quiet. But I mean, you can if you look for it. But
Sure.
these factory farms are really just petri dishes,
Right.
and they're constantly mutating diseases. And some of those diseases are going to jump, and they're going to jump to people, and they have.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we have one of our campaigns called Operation Virus Hunter, because what we've been trying to do, working with Dr. Alexandra Morton in British Columbia, is to show that the salmon farming industry is, because of the massive use of antibiotics and chemicals and everything, these concentrated groups of salmon on the farms breed diseases. And those diseases, like retroviruses, they actually spread to wild salmon. So indigenous salmon, they don't have the antibiotics, so they're suffering, and the numbers are going down. Salmon farms are extremely destructive to marine ecosystems.
Mhm.
And one of the things about salmon that a lot of people don't understand either is that a salmon has this pinkish white flesh because they feed on krill.
Mhm.
Well,
Like flamingos.
farm-raised salmon don't have that. The flesh of a farm-raised salmon is a dirty white.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to buy that. So they put dye in the food pellets, and they dye the meat of the salmon while it's still alive, to get that feel. You can tell one from the other. If you go in a fish market, if it's an orangey color, that's farm raised. If it's a deep red,
Right.
it's like sockeye wild animal. But the problem is indigenous salmon populations are going down because of it. The healthiest salmon populations are in Alaska, where they have the hatcheries, but they don't allow salmon farming there.
Mm. That's interesting.
But
I
Canada,
won't
Canada-
eat any of it.
yeah,
Just-
Canada has invested in salmon farming. It's a $3-4 billion a year industry out of British Columbia. It's all Norwegian
It's
controlled.
huge in BC. It's
But
huge
now-
in BC. Yeah.
Yeah, and now, so what we have is now, if you or I were to take, say, a piranha from the Amazon and put it in a pond in, say, Ontario or British Columbia, that would be a crime. You're introducing an exotic predator into an ecosystem it doesn't belong. But
Right.
here we are taking an Atlantic salmon species, which is bigger than a Pacific salmon population, and we put this Atlantic salmon predator into an ecosystem it doesn't belong, and that's okay.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
And when they first started to do this, they said, "Oh, well, that's okay. They're never going to escape." Of course, they did. Well, if they did escape, well, they're never going to breed. Yes, they did.
Yeah. Of course they would.
One thing I found from the Canadian Department of Fisheries and Oceans is the single most bureaucratic, incompetent bureaucratic body in Canada. They just screw up every ecosystem they get involved in.
Wow.
We back in the 80s, we predicted the collapse of the cod fishery, and of course, we were told we didn't know what we were talking about because Canada had the best scientists, the best computer models, and it's not going to happen. And of course, in 1992, it happened.
Right. Right.
I was debating a fisheries scientist in British Columbia one time, and I said, in 4 or 5 years, the coho population is going to collapse. He looked at me on TV and he said, "Watson, you are wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. We have the best scientists in the world. You are wrong, sir. You are wrong." I was wrong. The next year, it collapsed.
Wow. Wow. Jeepers. That's got to be a tough pill for them to swallow.
Well, the problem is the scientists who work for Department of Fisheries and Oceans and for industry, I call them biostitutes. Their science is whatever the companies or the government tell them the answers are going to be. They say,
Right.
here's what you're going to find out. Find us the science to justify this is the conclusion. You have to justify it.
Right. Right. Quick comment. that this one I think you'll like. Amelia, do you want to get it? Can you see it?
Quick. Hi, Wendy. Wendy Mitchell says, we have a whale trail down the east coast of New Zealand. One of the most amazing moments happened for me when I was on the helm sailing a yacht. A bull whale came up alongside the yacht and rolled on its side to check me out, eyeballing me. Our yacht was 36 feet.
Yeah. That's
He
right.
was a lot longer, sperm whale. Anyway, he moved back, and while he was with his mate and calf, I have
Aw.
never really recovered from the awesomeness of that experience. Tears, this interview is awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Wendy Mitchell, for being with us.
That's
You know,
how you should be seeing a whale, not in an aquarium.
You know,
Yeah.
the human brain is average is 1,700 cubic centimeters. The average size of a sperm whale brain is 9,000 cubic centimeters. The average size of an orca is 6,000 cubic centimeters. All mammals from mice to people have 3-lobe brains. Cetaceans have 4-lobe brains. The convolutions on the neocortex area of dolphins, whales, sperm whales, especially in orcas, are far more pronounced than on humans.
Mm-hmm.
They're more intelligent than we are. But we measure intelligence by eye-to-hand coordination.
Right.
If a blob of protoplasm stepped out of a spaceship with a ray gun, oh, it must be intelligent. It's got technology.
Right.
I was debating a whaler one time in Norway, and he said, "But Watson, you say whales are more intelligent than people. This is a very stupid thing to say." I said, "Well,
Point made.
I said, George, I measure intelligence by the ability to live in harmony with the environment, and by that criteria, whales are much more intelligent than we are." And he said, "Well, by that criteria, cockroaches are more intelligent than we are." George, I think you're beginning to understand what I'm trying to tell you.
George, you're proving my
So
point.
true. And they can live through anything.
Yeah, I mean, intelligence is the ability to live in harmony with your environment.
Right.
I mean, some animals have, senses far more developed. I mean, a dog can come into the room and tell you who was there yesterday. We can't do that. So
Yeah.
that sense of smell is something which is way beyond ours. But whales and dolphins have incredible communication abilities. And,
Right.
we discovered that, for instance, dolphins refer to each other by names. They have names for each other.
I didn't know that.
And we have orcas actually they found that orcas were able to actually figure out the movements of whaling ships in the 19th century and plan around it. So but these are animals that don't have hands and fingers. So their entire intelligence is completely alien to anything that we understand. Mm-hmm. And that they don't need to have clothing. They don't need to have telephones. They can communicate over long distances without technology. They don't need technology, but all our intelligence is based on technology. And even then, we're not that smart. A Neanderthal or a Cro-Magnon from 30,000 years ago is just the same as we are. If you took them back here and put them in university, they do just as well. The brain size is the same and everything like that. All of our intelligence is cumulative. If you take the average person and you put them on an island without any, they don't know how to build this. They don't know how to do this. They don't, so a Neanderthal will actually do a lot better because they knew how to make tools out of stone and stuff like this.
Right.
But each and every one of us don't know everything. In fact, we both know very little of anything. But cumulatively and cooperatively, then that's a civilization is based on that kind of a network. And so that works out well. Mm-hmm. But we could go back to the Stone Age real quick, and we could happen if, for instance, say there's a film back in 1969 called "The Death of Grass" or "No Blade of Grass," and the theme of the thing is that the United States had come up with a virus to destroy the rice crop in China as a way to fight the Chinese. That was their thing. But what they didn't realize is that rice is a grain or is a grass. And that virus spread to all the grasses. If all the grass family on this planet died, we would die. We'd be fighting over potatoes. There would be no cows. There would be no wheat. There would be no grains. There would be none. Our population would drop from 8 billion to probably about 200 million within 2 years. Mm-hmm. And that's how dependent we are upon just the grass family. And there's so many other things that we're dependent upon also. It's that complexity, that interdependence. The 3 laws of ecology are the law of diversity, that the strength of an ecosystem lies in diversity, the law of interdependence, that all these species are interdependent with each other. and the law of finite resources. There's a limit to growth because there's a limit to carrying capacity. And when one species steals the carrying capacity of others, that leads to diminishment of both diversity and interdependence, which leads to ecological collapse.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It doesn't take much, does it?
No, and we haven't been around that long. We think
No, it's true. Yeah, we could tip the scale so easily. Besides
that's why what the Church of Biocentrism is to understand that, for instance, the world's 4 billion years old. The planet's 4 billion years old. We've been on it for like a fraction of a second. Yet in our anthropocentric minds, it was all made for us.
Of course. No, it's purged itself. We're probably the third go of human beings that this planet has had. It's crazy.
And hominids haven't been around that very long either.
No. It's funny. Carl Sagan believed he have you ever heard of the Order of the Dolphin?
Yeah.
You have? What are your thoughts on that? Because they believe that they're so intelligent that they are the key to communicating with extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, I don't know if to me the distances are too vast for us to even consider.
Well, see, dolphins, so I'm asking.
Well, I'm saying that I think that we will be able to communicate with dolphins through computers because they communicate with each other. It's almost like our computers can communicate with each other. They can send a lot of information in sound bites. So I think that their way of communicating with each other is like that. Right. And so if we can tap into that, if we can understand that, we can communicate with them. Dolphins have learned English words. We haven't learned a single word of dolphin.
Right.
And they found that the dolphins had to actually slow everything down to say the words, because it was just like so alien. But they were able to do it. But the problem is, do we really want to communicate with them? Because I tell you, we'll probably be very much ashamed of ourselves if we were to listen to what they have to tell us. Their history.
I think it needs to happen. I mean, does humanity have to be shamed into behaving? Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know. Even if then it's possible. We're a pretty murderous species. Really.
I'll tell you something. If there's this theory that hell is essentially when we pass and we see our hell is us having to face all the terrible things that we have done in our lives to the point where it can make you cry. You have to face it. I tend to wonder, all these people have caused all these atrocities against these, like all humanity really, but these beautiful, gentle beings, just, I almost say, you know what? I look forward to when you have to face that, because I cannot imagine when you realize what you've done.
I don't think that any individuals ever have to pay for that, but what the human species will, because the consequences will be on the whole species as a whole.
We're already paying for it. How many species have gone extinct, do you think?
Well, we'll lose more species of plants and animals between 2000 and 2065 than we've lost in the last 65 million years. Yeah. So this is the Anthropocene, the sixth major extinction. And we're as one species responsible for that completely. So it's a very, young people today are facing a future that we never had to, people my age never had to really face. Right. And people my age were born into the most materialistically wealthy and freest time in the history of humanity. It'll never happen again because the resources aren't there to allow it to happen. And as for freedoms, the freedoms that we had basically in the 50s and 60s, we don't have anymore.
No, it's true.
In 1983, I blockaded St. John's Harbor and kept the entire sealing fleet from coming out for 2 weeks. I couldn't do that today. If I tried to, they'd blow me out of the water. So,
That's true.
They know that you were going before you actually knew you were going. just with all the technology.
The response to protests is far more ruthless today than it was in the 50s and 60s and 70s even.
Right.
I don't think people realize how useless it really is.
No, I don't think people, most people are out of touch with everything anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes I believe that these protests are more about themselves than the actual cause, that there's people there just protesting to protest. And it's just a different
I don't.
We're in different
I'm always
times.
against protesting for two reasons. One, I think it's submissive, but two, a lot of young people get involved in protests and they get arrested, and that ruins their life. For what?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I think it's better to infiltrate and work from within, and because the strength of an ecosystem is in diversity, the strength of a movement has to be in diversity, and that diversity includes, or approaches can be, litigation, legislation, education, direct intervention, all of these things working together. One's not any better than the other. So people who approach it by being lawyers or by being teachers or anything, that the writers, artists, they're all can contribute in their own way to use their abilities, their skills to make it a better world.
Right. Make a difference at different levels. What's been your biggest challenge with all of this? I know I'm sure there's been many. But what's the one that stands out the most? Like, what would you have done differently?
Well, I think in hindsight, if I had any regrets, I would have probably been more aggressive in situations where I was not as aggressive as I should have been. But
Right.
you have to operate within the boundaries of practicality and also
Yeah.
within the boundaries of the law. And so
Right.
that's one of the reasons I've been able to do all this for all this time.
Right.
But the one big frustration is bureaucracies. They're just immovable. You know,
Right.
fighting a government bureaucracies, corporate bureaucracies, is just so difficult because it's a mindset that is so alien to the natural world. And
Yeah.
but I've also learned to live with it so that I don't get, I just sort of I get a passive aggressive approach to it, I suppose. If they tell me I can't do anything, I said, okay, I agree with you, but then I go and do it anyway.
See, you're a rebel in a good way. So, yeah, I can see that. I mean, you can't stand down because it's just almost. I mean, you win some, you lose some. But you take it with a grain of salt and you get back up and you go at it again, which is what I
Well,
love.
to give you an example of how weird the bureaucratic mind is, back during the Band-Aid time, I worked with Rob Geldof. We worked in the same newspaper together. So he put this Band-Aid thing, and I was in England, and I said, okay, well, we can bring some stuff to the Sudan for Ethiopia. And so they loaded one of my ships, and we are going to go. Then the British Department of Transport said, no, you can't do that. You can't bring that stuff. You're not a cargo ship. You're not a commercial vessel. You're a yacht. I said, yeah, but we're not getting paid for this. This is a humanitarian thing. We're going to bring the stuff, to them. He said, no, there's just no excuses. There's absolutely no excuses. And so I said, well, okay, let's go back to Dunkirk. All of the yachts that went over there to rescue soldiers, none of them were registered to carry passengers. Now, I expected him to say, yeah, that was a war. You know what he said? Well, if I had anything to say about it at the time, that wouldn't have happened. So England lost the war because of a bureaucrat like that.
Wow. Wow.
That's the bureaucratic mindset. They don't.
Yeah, it just works against you. It's so tough. You can imagine if everything flowed properly, just how much more you could achieve. But it's like you're constantly butting head with people who just don't have any understanding.
Well, for instance, today, an Afghan family had refugees, where unfortunately they were a refugee to Ukraine. So they're trying to cross into Poland. The day before, the woman in the family had a baby. So a newborn baby, 1 day old, crossed into Poland, refused entry because the baby didn't have papers.
Okay. Wow. We really do suck as humanity, don't we?
They have to go back to Ukraine. They got to wait 8 days and, get the UN to get papers for the baby. I mean, this is a bureaucratic mindset.
Yeah.
Is it bureaucratic, or is it that they're concerned and you have to prove that it's your child?
No, well, it was obviously their child. Their concern was it didn't have papers. They don't care why.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's so stupid.
Wow.
But throughout my career, I mean, dealing with port captains and transportation departments and everything, it's always been that case. I remember coming in Nova Scotia one time. Now, I had a ship which had the Canadian flag, but it was not Canadian owned. And the rules are that you cannot have a Canadian captain on a Canadian ship which is not owned by Canadian, even though it had a Canadian flag. So,
I've
so
heard
Okay.
I've
that's
heard that.
that was the
Yeah.
Department of Transport regulations. So Coast Guard comes in, or was it Revenue Canada says, oh, you have to have a Canadian captain on the ship. And I said, no, well, Department of Transport says I can't have a Canadian captain. Well, we don't care what the Department of Transport says. Revenue Canada says it has to be a Canadian, Canadian captain. So there's no answer.
There isn't. No, it's like an
You
oxymoron.
broke the rules no matter what you do.
Why is Revenue Canada getting involved?
Well, because of of a ship which is owned by American, say, foreigners.
Okay.
You own a ship, you don't pay the taxes on it.
Yeah. No. It just gets convoluted.
So it's like
I
CBSA.
always like
Yeah.
what Ed Abbey said about taxes. The American writer Ed Abbey says, people are sheep and taxes are how the sheep are shorn.
You're not wrong. So, have you ever had your ships confiscated because of something like that? Like, you eventually get them back, but have they ever, as any country, tried to hold back just to slow you down, if anything?
Canada confiscated 2 of my ships. One of them they held for 2 years. I got it back. One of them, though, in the Sea Shepherd 2, what they didn't realize is that I was going to retire the ship. And actually, it was 3 of the ships they confiscated from me. But and they made the same mistake 2 times. One, I came into British Columbia. They ordered me into Vancouver Island to have the Mounties do a search and everything. I'd just come back on a DriftNet campaign. I didn't have to go in, but I went in anyway. And then I was going to leave, and they said, "Well, you got to pay the pilotage bill." I said, "I didn't ask to come in here." And the pilotage bill is $7,500. I said, "I'm not going to pay it." Wow. And they said, "Well, you either pay it or you don't leave." I said, "No, not going to pay it." And then that's your problem. I left the ship there.
So they stored it for you for free.
No, well, what happened is it ended up being sitting there for 10 years.
Wow.
Until the government had to pay like $1 million to remove it and scrap it. But I was going to retire it anyway. But then in 2008, my vessel, the Barley Mowat, actually, was arrested for interfering with the seal hunt in Canada. And the Canadian Minister of Fisheries had it arrested and held in Sydney. And he fined me $75,000, and I'm not going to pay it. So he ordered the ship auctioned. Some guy bought it for $5,000, but they had already spent almost $1 million on security for the vessel during the time that they held it. So the guy who bought it for $5,000 took it down to Shelburne, and he ended up running up a bill of $50,000 and then skipped town and stuck the town with the bill. So then they auctioned it off again, and it went to someplace else, Lunenburg, one of the two, and ended up catching fire, and then sinking. And it cost the Canadian government $1 million to raise it, and then they had to get rid of it. So both times they seized my ship, it ended up costing them all this enormous amount.
You think that they would just say, "Oh God, let them take the ship and go"?
But both times, I knew that they're.
Oh,
I'm back.
It's not just me, right?
Nope. Hello.
Oh,
Frozen. Come back.
Oh no.
Sounds like it would be a good story.
No kidding. No, we did not get this far. I'm the one with the power outage.
Oh, I hope not.
Oh my gosh.
In the meantime, there's been a lot of good comments. Justin K says the humpback whale is the only species on Earth with a 4-level or level 4 language. Yeah, he's frozen for sure.
He's frozen, yeah. I can do the station ID.
You do the station ID, and I'm going to message him. And
okay. So right now, while we take a moment, you're listening to the with Shelter Day, and our special guest tonight is Captain Paul Watson, who is just freezing, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, and we will be bringing him back. We are live on 105.3 FM radio in the beautiful city of New Orleans. It's Mardi Gras week there. Hey, y'all. Streaming on YouTube's UFO Paranormal International Public Radio, UFO Gods, and ET Extraterrestrials Radio, as well as all of our Facebook pages, especially including Canada's Most Haunted and The Outer Realm. A huge thanks to award-winning composer Dr. Snick the Sonic Surgeon. also known as Justin Snicker, for our fabulous intro and outro. You can purchase his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Find Justin on social media at Facebook and Instagram. A massive thank you to the one and only Folgers Coffee. I know that it's, you wake up with it, but you can also unwind with it and drink it and sip it while you're listening to our show. Without Folgers, we would not be here. Folgers, thank you so much for your support and always being there for us. Thank you, Folgers. Great coffee.
Great coffee and great show. We need to get our guest back.
Yeah.
I have emailed him and told him, just click the link again and get back here.
He
just,
might be frozen. I'm having issues on this side, but I found out there's an outage, an issue with the cable and internet in our little town here.
Well, I hope he does not. I hope he's able to
No.
get back. A lot of really great feedback coming into the chat room. I mean, we'll back up a bit. We can read some of the comments. Sarah, I'll put this up. There you go.
Yeah, Sarah Bailey. Hello, Sarah. We have a purpose in life, and many have come here for their purpose.
Being animals or not. It's that simple. Hello, Doreen. Hello, Lisa. Tamara says, wow, we were talking about the ecosystem and the balance.
Yeah, worms, birds, and trees balance the environment. Absolutely. And
Next.
hi, Wayne.
Hi, Wayne. Hello, Corinne.
Hi, Cece. Yeah, it's really important. I think people underestimate the value of bees. You need to research that if you do. Zachman says, years ago, I saw a parody of Jaws that made it look like a family-friendly Disney film. That was a more accurate depiction.
Oh,
it went away.
That's hold on, going back.
It was more
of the original
of sharks than the original Jaws. I like watching Shark Week. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Dolly, hi, Dolly says empathy for our environment and the animals who we depend on. If they disappear, we disappear. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a tough one. It's really tough, and it
Oh, it's true.
I don't understand all the plastics and how they get into the ocean. I have to do more reading on that because I don't get it. I know that a lot of people don't think about it because they believe, well, I'm putting my stuff in a blue box. How am I contributing to it? Well,
I know.
It's not just that blue box. You travel, there's the cruise ships and the resorts they produce and use a lot of plastics. And I'm curious to see these companies that make these water bottles, how are they being held accountable for their part in all of this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious.
I don't think anything, or I don't think they hold themselves accountable.
No, but like we have these carbon footprints and all this other stuff. How are they? Why? There's manufacturers who have to pay taxes on stuff like that. And is it really doing anything to make it different? And why are we in we're such a society of gosh, like convenience and plastic, and it's terrible. How did we live before? I didn't grow up with plastic water bottles. So for me, it was a big,
same.
I have that's always been me.
I don't think anybody. You're dealing with the powers that be. They don't hold themselves accountable. It's all about the mighty dollar.
Yeah.
Hold on here.
Dolly San Francisco is dumping directly into our oceans. That is terrible.
Your
biggest abusers.
I agree. I agree. Tamara.
These are the biggest worry. No bees equals no pollination of our planets. You can't survive without them.
I think it just comes down to the fact that, again, awareness. And people don't, when you see a pile of garbage floating by, you have some people that will actually go out there and do something about it and clean it up. But then you get those who just don't, you look at it, okay. I don't know how this is okay.
I don't know. I know from traveling so much around on the islands, there's a lot of plastic on the beach from the bars, and sometimes it gets cleaned up. Sometimes it goes out there. I don't know how much of it, but enough that Barbados has a lot of rules when you're on their beach, and you know, the sanctuary with the turtles and everything. So yeah, listen, me too. Glass growing up. Even the milk was in glass. I didn't drink milk. I'm lactose intolerant. Just in case. Hi, Justin. Even nasty bugs are necessary, yet we kill them with pesticides. In days of yore, they just planted parsley or thyme in between other crops. The smell kept the bugs away. Yes.
No. There's no reason why things can't be organic. Oh, hold on. We got cut off. Hold on.
If you spray your herbs, some of them, the hardier ones, with vinegar and water, a mild solution, you can stop them from eating it as well. There's different ways, because my father always had a huge garden and everything was organic. He didn't use pesticides, not even on his trees. So I agree. Stop producing plastic. I agree.
Okay, hold on.
I think the biggest users of that are the grocery stores.
Okay, 1 second here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to try to send a link again.
Yeah. If you go to the farmers markets and that, you'll see more people using their own bags.
Oh, okay, hold on. We back?
Let's hope so.
Oh, there you are. Where'd you
Yay! If you were hungry and you needed a break, you just had to say something.
Say so, yeah. So we're just looking.
I don't know if we're still involved here. It's
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Okay, 1 minute.
Oh no.
Where'd you go?
Yes. Yeah. Hemp is it's in a lot of stuff, which is you can get more hemp products than you used to be able to 10 years ago now.
Yeah, well, it's more acceptable now too, right?
It is.
Hold on. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of this one. Hold on. Let me get rid of this. Kick.
Oh, Justin, I'll just read his.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry,
was
Justin.
clever.
Give me a second. Yeah.
Can you hear us? Okay.
No.
Can you hear us? No. Okay. He's not muted. Make sure you're not muted.
No, his microphone.
Yeah, it's on from his end.
Yeah.
And frozen. Okay, so okay, well, hopefully he'll be back.
Okay, now I
I'm
can
send
read
him
Justin's.
another. Okay.
Yeah, I also had a garden where I grew many different vegetables and never used pesticides or artificial fertilizer. You don't have to. They didn't do that way back in the day, and they had lush gardens and beautiful harvests. And you really don't have to. You just need to, dig and learn how to do that.
Yeah, he wasn't muted, Dolly. Yeah, from at least not from our end anyway. So I sent him a fresh link. So hopefully he'll pop back in. Yeah.
It was glitchy.
It's just strange tonight. There's just absolutely no reason.
It's strange all week. StreamYard. There's been issues for the other shows as well.
Of all nights.
Yeah, I know. It happens. It always happens that way.
Oh, I know. We're just definitely going to bring him back for sure, because honestly, he still has a million things to basically say. Honest to gosh.
Yes, Dolly.
Okay, here we go. Okay, there. All right. Yes, we hear you.
Yay!
I don't know what the problem is.
It's weird. You froze and we waited. You were gone completely. So I'm glad you're back. So
there's some sort of technical problem. I don't know what it is.
No.
It's okay. You can hear us now, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Let's pick up where we left off.
No, he can't hear us.
No? Can't hear us?
Just getting mute.
What? You can't hear. Unmute?
Not working.
There's no phone.
Call him on the phone. We don't have a phone line on
doesn't have that. No.
Yeah.
Unmute. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to go in. This is not good. I don't like this at all. Off he goes again. yeah, we'll just ask them because we could go over. There's nobody on after us, worst case. So we can go over. I'm just going to go in and find him. Restart your computer, maybe.
Oh gosh.
Okay, let's try this and see. It could just be, yeah, he's glitching. So I'm going to remove that, kick this, and go from there. Okay. All right, we'll give him another whirl and
That
see.
is so
So-
crazy.
What? I mean, I'm a huge advocate for, yeah, that's what I said, Dolly. Do you guys think, like what we were talking about earlier with Carl Sagan, and he believed that
Yeah, we can hear it.
dolphins would be the way to communicating with ET. Dolly, what's your thought on that? Because you're versed in the ET thing also. Yeah, we could hear him fine too, Ellie. He just couldn't hear us apparently.
No.
So we'll wait and see. Hopefully he'll restart and come back on and we can get him back in. Otherwise we'll have to reschedule him, but it'll be a little bit of a wait, unfortunately. Boo. So I'm hoping this stuff is going to be an issue. But I think that people, you know, when you think of the species out there that mankind has literally hunted to extinction, and for, let's use finning. Let's use shark finning for example. Why would you? Oh, wait, back and back. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay,
Not working.
it's not working. No,
We can hear you.
yeah, we can hear you. Okay, I'm going to try to communicate via email. Okay, I'm just going to go on Messenger for 1 second. Okay, hold on 1 minute. And I'm going to go right here. Okay, there we go. I can hear you. Hopefully he'll see it. Okay. I have gone on Messenger. There we go. Okay. All right. We'll see if he sees me. Okay. And gone again. Dang it. Restart computer. Computer. Yeah. So yeah, we have time. Okay. Tell him to read the chat.
Oh yeah, and he can answer
Yeah. Or
just by chatting, asking
come
him the
in
question. Or
and-
just talk. Tell him just to talk.
I can't hear you. Some sort of a technical glitch. Oh, yeah, we hear you. Restart. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Lisa says, I heard some people say the Nordics and the dolphins have a strong connection with one another. I believe that. There's been stories of crafts coming in right over the water and dolphins come in and start congregating. And I could tell you that there's recordings of grays and they actually do clicking and clacking sounds like dolphins. Okay.
That's crazy.
Okay. All right. I think
Oh,
he's gonna
Adriana said needs to restart and possibly clear cache on browser.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it works best on Chrome, believe it or not. It's
Yeah,
just
it
been
does.
really temperamental.
This whole week.
Yeah.
It's been an entire
Restart.
week.
Okay. He's doing a restart. So we'll let him do that. Bring him back in.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is perfect.
Yeah.
I sent you a new link.
Michelle's just trying to.
Okay. Yeah, he sees this. He's going to do a restart, and we'll go from there too with the fresh link and go from there. They have similar language. Yes, that's why I think Carl Sagan was actually trying to show was that dolphins would be the way to communicate with extraterrestrial life. Put in an attack. I don't understand. Put in an attack. Dolly, elaborate. Please, please, please. So maybe dolphins already communicate with ETs. Yes, I truly, truly believe that they do. I mean, the Order of the Dolphin, I think, was primarily, according to research that I have read, a way for them to find a way to figure out if they would be the key to communicating with ET, I guess, on our behalf, trying to understand the language. Like I said, I've heard recordings, I own some, where you have that in the background, and it's fascinating to hear. Because I remember hearing it for the first time, and I'm like, what is this sound? Why does this sound familiar? Oh, please tell me you can hear us. Can you hear us?
Hey, it's all broken up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you clearly.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
it's not very reception though. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's bizarre tonight. This whole Amelia was going through that earlier. I don't know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're gonna just let you do as much of the talking as possible. We can go till even quarter after just to make up for time is fine. So go ahead and just tell us everything. So
He can't hear us.
you can't hear us? You lost us? Oh,
Yeah.
dang it. This is just not our night.
No, you might have to bring them back.
Oh, we're definitely going to have to do that.
That's a big void when you're listening.
Yeah.
Watching is one thing because you guys can laugh at us from your homes, but
oh, I know.
listening to an archive is another story.
Okay. Putting in a cyberjack. Okay, I understand. And
our own psychic ability will work.
It makes you wonder, do you think dolphins are telepathic?
Well, if they can communicate from far distances, isn't that just vibration and echo in the water?
Well, I would think so. But I know, Dolly. It's how I feel. I feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. You have no idea how excited we are to have them.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but it's okay. 1 second.
Yeah, I'll read Justin's comment. Justin says Gregory Benford's 1980 novel Timescape contains a wonderful portrait of a scientist modeled after Carl Sagan. The novel is far ahead of its time, very much describing the climate situation of today. Isn't it crazy? Yeah.
It is. Okay. Okay, perfect.
And Dolly says she can communicate with dolphins. Well, when you think about it, Captain did say that they speak their own language to each other and that they even have names for each other. Sonography, that's the word I was looking for, Dolly. Thank you. It's been a really bad day today, and I'm trying my best not to mess up because my head is everywhere. Yeah, most animals are, but not all people are able to pick it up. I believe so because they do understand us. And, you know, I was happy to see that video of the blue whales that came online. What was it, a few weeks ago, or was it longer than that? Time just escapes me. It was nice to see, but I wonder just how much damage they've really done.
Okay, 1 minute. They use sonography.
They use sonography. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for, not echo. Forgive me. Okay, crazy day, Dolly. Crazy day. Everything electrical is going wrong today. Just saying.
It is. It's true.
It's been a crazy day. Tamara says, most animals are, but not all people are able to pick it up. Yes, I already read that one. Okay. We're just trying. Michelle's trying to make
I'm actually communicating with him. Yeah.
Yeah. And if he can't stay on, it's a tough one. Maybe if he just uses the sound and not the camera, maybe it will use up less. I don't know. I don't know what else to say at this point. I know that it's been an issue for the entire network this week. Yeah, Dolly said they had a dolphin base named Dolly. Aw.
Aw.
How cute is that?
Oh, baby dolphin. Baby dolphin. Cute. Who doesn't love dolphins?
Oh,
Honestly,
I
they're
do.
so
I just
sweet.
don't want to see them in captivity. I don't want to see any animals in captivity. And I believe that if you really care about it, you will not support the zoos. You will not support African lion safari. I don't care if they email me. You should not be supporting SeaWorld or Marineland. None of that should be
Mhm.
happening. And especially not circuses. There's a reason why you barely see a circus anymore. It's because people know what's going on and they're not supporting them.
Mhm.
If it disgusts you to see hunters post their catch on in the internet, then it should be just as repulsive to you when you see them in captivity.
Mhm.
I don't like the aquarium either. I'm sorry. I know it's a big thing in Toronto, but I don't like it.
Mhm.
Um,
Some animals, some beings do not belong. They just don't belong. How do you put a whale in a small aquarium? How do you do
how do
that?
you
How
put
do you
all of those at Ripley's? How do you put all of those
Mm.
beautiful creatures in captivity? It's wrong. It's not
It
natural.
is. It is. And we might get a little bit of hate mail for this, but I
I don't
completely
care.
agree. It is really difficult to take such a beautiful being out of its own environment. And honestly, they're not, you do your best to take care of them. Some don't. What was it? Was that aquarium in Mexico where they were just abandoned?
Oh my
And
God.
people were coming in. Yeah, they were just the place was closed. They were abandoned, and there were people coming in and I mean doing major rescues. Petition to come in and get these dolphins and whales out of there.
Yeah.
Like they outgrow. They outgrow. It's sad to me. But I look at the work that Captain Paul Watson and his team do all over the world, and they've been doing it for 40 some odd years.
And all those
That is
arrests.
dedication.
I want to ask him how many times in total has he been arrested. And
I wanted him to tell the story of the experience with those whales that were harpooned by Russian whalers.
yeah, the one on TED
Because
Talk.
if that does not make you realize that something is fundamentally wrong with all of this. Sorry, okay, one sec, guys. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
hold
it's
on.
disturbing to say the least. Please forgive us for this technical difficulty and all the glitches tonight. Unfortunately, StreamYard has been an issue all week for the entire network.
It has been a lot of the hosts have actually had little incidents even trying to log on themselves.
Some of them had to cancel their shows.
They did. They
yeah.
did. Yeah, it blows. It really blows. But we will bring him back on. We are in communication, and he's just like, yeah, let's just do this again. And so we know we have another show coming up with him, and we'll get into some more content and some more stories. He's a wealth of information, and he has so many stories to tell, so much experience in all of this. I think at the end of it, you're looking at a large group of men and women who put themselves out there every day. And I was hoping, sorry, 1 second. No apologies necessary. He's apologizing.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh, he is so amazing.
Okay. So, you have people who put their lives out there all the time. They're risking their freedom, everything. And he has an interesting perspective when it comes to volunteers. Oh, here we are again. Okay. Yes. No.
Working.
Oh.
Gone again.
So he just big tease.
It's okay. He can't hear. I don't know what is up with it. We'd almost have to redo it, but we will bring him back. So, but like I said, he does have an interesting prerequisite for bringing volunteers on. And I heard this, in an interview, and it'll be much better when he tells it. But what I found fascinating is he said, would you give your life for a whale? And if the person said no, then obviously, then you're not you're not cut out for this. But if the person said yes, it goes, perfect. Because people go out and sacrifice their lives for so much less, for things,
Mm-hmm.
for things.
And yes, they are all vegans on his team.
Yeah.
I know that was a question that I had seen in a chat room that he was doing a show, and I couldn't believe that was even us. But anyways, doesn't mean everybody has to be, but it means that if you are on that ship and you're helping them, I mean, I believe that it really needs to be a part of your life to truly understand this journey. I'm still learning a lot about vegans and the lifestyle. I'm still doing the research on it.
Yeah. It's definitely, you either understand it or you don't. You either have the compassion or you don't. And
I have the compassion. It's just learning how to do it right.
Empathy.
Jolly said we all deserve, yes, to live our natural existence and our environmental riches.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
You have to tell that to all the leaders of the world.
That's just it. How do you do that? I mean, like I said, what I was going to say before, things got a bit crazy is finning. When they cut the fins off the sharks, okay, for soup.
I can't. Oh
Are
my
people
God.
aware that they cut the fins and the animal drowns?
They toss the shark back in with no fins. So what happens to the poor shark is that it just sinks to the bottom of the ocean and dies a slow, painful death.
Do you understand? Like
all
this,
to make soup.
This is, yeah. They can't even do it humanely. Like it's bad enough you're doing it, but you can't do it humanely. This is a very small part of what this, I guess, movement, as he calls it. This is what they do. They stop things like this from happening. This should be happening in this day and age. It really should not be happening in this day and age.
Yeah. Janie said they cannot breathe. They need to move to breathe.
It's true.
And they need to come to surface sometimes, especially whales.
As long as people keep eating it, though.
It's a culture thing.
It is
in the East.
And to each his own, but can we please work if you again, it's a mass scale. It's not, how do you say it's not acceptable when people go from all over the world to eating meat, poultry, like this, it's looked at the same way. And
it is when you go to the grocery store and you pick up chicken from the meat counter, you're not thinking of that was a little bird and it's chicken, but you don't associate it because
it's just a matter of, we need to learn how to be more humane. And have we lost that sense?
Oof, long time ago.
Is there just no integrity or humanity? What happened to the I don't know. What happened to the human aspect of all of this? When did everything become so barbaric?
Well, it was always like that. That's an ancient way for them, right? Jolly said they started finding to make up for lack of scallops. Finning.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
To make up for lack of scallops. They've been finning sharks for ages. It's in their culture. It goes back a long time.
Yeah.
Scallops are mostly farmed with polluted point of death.
Any way you look at it, I think that in order to evolve, I think we need to start looking at all sentient beings as just that, sentient beings. There are people out there who don't look at they call them fish or animals, that they're not sentient beings. There are countries in the world that finally recently said, no, legally now we look at dogs as being sentient beings. Why do we have to go to court and make that a law? Exactly. Do you
Well,
know,
there's
like,
a country that actually eats them. We know all about
we know
that.
that too.
So it's
You
hard
know,
to understand that when they're your pets, right?
but that's
So
any way you look at it. These
perspective,
are
yeah.
sentient beings. Why does there have to be a debate as to whether they are or whether they're not? I'm sorry, you look into the eye of an animal. I mean, especially like I've posted, I think, a video a while back on my timeline on Facebook, and it's basically the camera zooming in on the eye of a whale, and a whale that just gently comes up, you know,
Yeah.
next to a swimmer or a boat, and you look into the eye of that whale. I'm sorry, you have to just be immune of feelings to not
Well,
have
you
an
can see
understanding
their
of that.
soul.
Shh, you know, and I'm spewing a bit, but this is a show about awareness. This is not, to
We're not
me, this is not
asking.
brain science. This is,
Yeah.
we have to get to a point where you know,
Stop
we're not
taking.
the only ones. We're the predators here. You know, we're the predators on this planet. I think we're the worst predators on this planet because we kill for nothing. We kill for sport.
Oh, I hate that.
But, you know, I get it.
Yeah.
You need to eat.
that.
Okay. You know, but
No, those are trophies when they kill like that. Those are trophies. They're not eating lions. They're not
know.
eating elephants and cheetahs and jaguars. And come on.
no, you know what? Exactly. That's Dolly says they are in source with us. I completely agree with you.
And Stacy says makes me cry. It absolutely does.
The one thing that left me, and again, you know, it would sound so much better coming from him, but you know, he's got a new documentary coming out as well, and it's like he says, if the oceans die, we die. Let that ring. Let that ring through, because that is true.
Yeah,
Our ecosystem sustains us.
Search on YouTube. You can watch the Sharkwater trailer, and his TED Talks are there, as well as some interviews, and some. He does a lot of speaking at different universities, and some of those video clips are on YouTube as well. Just search Captain Paul Watson, and you'll see them all come up, and you'll be able to see the trailer and how you'll be able to watch the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh. I mean, I think it's on the Outer Realm. I think I put a clip on there.
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah. But if you go on YouTube, you can see all of them. There's so many.
Yeah. You know, guys, check it out. And, you know, we appreciate you all being in the chat room tonight. It was really fully loaded. A lot of people were listening in tonight. I apologize. I don't know what was up with the technical difficulties. I don't know if it was his end, our end, but I'm looking forward to bringing him back on. And maybe at this point, you can start chiming in with questions that we can maybe have in advance for him. And that might also be something very cool to do, just to give him an opportunity to get to everything. But realistically, now we are at the top of the hour. We've come to the end of another amazing segment. It ended off like a boo, because, you know, I just had so much more to talk about. But a big thank you to Captain Paul Watson. You are amazing. I can't say thank you enough to what you basically have spent the last 40 some odd years doing, all of your volunteers, all of your dedication. I can't thank you enough. You've left behind an amazing legacy, and I hope that you can continue to leave your mark. And I hope that I won't say I hope, I know that there are many species out there thanking you along with us all, and an ecosystem that will ultimately thrive because of you. So thank you. Also, big thank you to Folgers Coffee. We love big time. Dr. Snick, Justin Sticker, thank you also for your sponsorship. Please remember to head over to the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, subscribe, and please become a member so you get some other really cool content. That would be like outstanding. You're going to see a lot of great stuff. A lot of the hosts are working on exclusive stuff just for members. So go check them all out. And while you're at it, don't forget about us on Facebook. Yeah, go ahead, subscribe, show us some love. There's lots of stuff that goes on that page on a regular basis. Amelia is really creative with it. So check it out.
Why am I the big screen?
I don't know. Joe's messing around. Knock it off. Anyway, if you wish to contact us, please do so at the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Again, the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Tomorrow night, we welcome for the very first time MG Stevens, author of the Boogeyman Chronicles, and she's going to be discussing unexplained phenomena of various types. So until then, you all behave, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you.
You have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.